So this is to all you kids out there who are atheists, who are Marxists, who are coming out of our public school system, public education, even private schools. I want to apologize, and I'm saying this lightly, but it's probably one of the worst things that we conservatives and Republicans have done, and Christians, frankly, have done, is allowed children to go to these public schools, this public education, and to be brainwashed, groupthinked into Marxism. Communists and Marxists, same thing. Socialists, same thing. They're all the same. Fascists, even, except fascists maybe have sort of that arrogance and wing of or Darwinian racial superiority complex. But they're all the same. It's government control of your life, tyranny. When the serpent went to Eve and said, in the beginning, this is the premise. This is the whole premise of Marxism, of atheism, and it's amazing that God put it in right at the beginning. In this tale of humanity, the serpent said to Eve, "You don't listen to God. Don't listen to that fairy tale, that Bible. Don't listen to that. You can be your own God. You can be your own God." And that's the heart of the core of communism and Marxism, atheism, is you hate God. You don't like you know the teaching of you hate God. God sucks. God can't control me. I control me. You don't control anything in your life. I mean, except for your goodness or your evil or your anger or your forgiveness. You control that, like sort of the emotional and reasoning control, but you don't control the world, your fate, the color of your eyes, your metabolism, how tall you are. You don't control any of that. You don't control even what your children are going to look like. I mean, you can kind of control like teaching them, but you don't control what they're going to look like or what their physiology, kind of like some of them are just going to be what they are. And God chooses. And God chooses who's good. He does. And it's the elect. And if you don't like that, He probably didn't choose you. If you don't like that God chooses who gets saved and who doesn't, if you don't like that, you probably are not chosen. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If you, however, you feel like, why didn't He choose me? Why isn't He choosing me? You may have a chance. He may be choosing you. He's just letting you suffer a little longer along this path that you think is where there's no God or something. Anyway, Marxism, communism, the Black Lives Matter movement, the Democrat Party. It's all this conspiring. They want to be God. They want to be God. It's just, and why do they all have the same beliefs? If there's God and then not God, right? And maybe there's a multitude of a billion other options, right? Other mythologies, atheism, secularism, humanism, whatever. How come all of the ones that are against God don't believe? They have the same tenets. They have the more of the same tenets than than us little Christians who are doing our little logical reasoning, arguing amongst each other about theology and different aspects of it, and even abortion and homosexuality and all that. But again, those are starting to move into the atheist world. And the atheist world all have the same beliefs, right? Sexual perversity or sexual, if you want to call it freedom or liberty, I don't, but if you want to say that, sex outside of marriage of a man and a woman. Sex outside of marriage of a man and a woman is considered sin in Christian, and if you're a Christian, if you're a real Christian. But all the rest of the world believes that that's fine. I mean, 99%. So, there's that. Abortion. All the rest of the world believes abortion is fine. Some say, oh, I'm pro-life and it's bad, but they don't really do much about it. There's about 1% of atheists who pretend they're pro-life. I think they do it just to pretend that, there are some differences. There isn't really. Because they still vote for the same politicians that do abortion, that create these abortion mills that sacrifice all these young children, so that the sexual and horrific culture of murder and death and happiness above all, standing on top of the bones of children, is fine. And I'm trying to be as dramatic, as I can in my little goofy YouTube video, to get to this point that you all believe the same thing. Evolution is the worship of creatures and death. It's the worship of death. You need millions and millions of years of death and creatures dying, that some creature is going to be this fascist superior creature in the end, evolving and become a god. And that's evolution, and that's exactly against God. And it says so in Romans 1, second half. You worship the creature, not the creator. Um, and everyone believes that, except for the hardcore Christians. I mean, some Jews, maybe are a little orthodox, might stick with it, but for the most part, it's just Christians. Everyone else believes in this some sort of evolution, some sort of creature of the world thing. I mean, it's the same. I mean, it's a bunch of different. It's a robe of many colors, I guess. I don't know. That's kind of a reference to Joseph, which is not a great reference. You guys have a ton of different variety, but the same core tenets. The Egyptians believe that the Egyptians in the past believe that we came from frogs. The Hindus believe we die and evolve into the next, and if you're good, you get reborn into the next better and better creature. That's evolution. All these pagan gods are created from creatures, and the images of creatures that keep getting better and better and more powerful. So communism is just a form of tyranny, a form of control over your life. And, they keep telling you to hate the rich. Okay, hate the rich. In a capitalist society, the rich, guess who the rich serve in a capitalist society where it's free markets? Guess who the rich, if there's a rich person, guess what? They serve someone. You know who it is? You. They serve you. To make these iPhones, to make apps, all the cool things you do, these rich people are doing it for you. They're not doing it for the government. They're making something to appeal to the masses. That's why they're rich. They're serving the masses with their rich product, and you can choose whether you buy it or not. And they become rich because you, the masses, the poor, like what they offer, and your life becomes richer because of it. My life becomes richer because, you know what? Today I have an iPhone, and I'm not poor, but I'm not super rich. But I see the super rich, and they have the same iPhone I do. So I'm like, we watch the same Netflix. Granted, they do some richer stuff than me, but I don't even really care. I don't want to go on a yacht or whatever. My point is that the rich serve you in a capitalist society. In a communist society, guess who the rich and the elite serve? Themselves. They serve themselves. They enslave you. If the government runs our economy, our health, our hospitals, our healthcare, it's those elite politicians and government workers and connected elite or rich who are connected with the government. They all serve each other. And then the poor stuff, we are slaves in a communist Marxist world. We are all slaves to these rich elites. That is exactly what they're preaching at you to sow division and discord. Is exactly what they're going to set up as soon as you give them all that power. In a capitalist society, the rich have to serve the poor, the masses. Now, the only way that they can get more power in an unfair way is, and this is hilarious because every time an atheist or Marxist complains to me about rich, I tell them the only way they can do that, but they're going to shut down the markets, or they're going to shut down the small businesses, or do unfair things. That's because they have the government helping them. They go to the government with their those guys that go to the government and lobbyists. They go to the lobbyists. They get their loopholes. That's because when you vote a Democrat in, a communist, a Marxist, they're going to keep bringing up all these laws and regulations and taxes and environment and all that stuff and destroy all you little people who want to start your little business and get rich. The only way they can do that is by getting the rich working with the government to destroy others. That's why we want a free market. Now, as a capitalist, as a Christian, sorry, I'm not going to edit that out. We do create rules. We have rules, but we want to keep them as minimum as possible and as fair across the board. So everyone's got to follow them. Keep no pollution, keep the environment clean. We want that absolutely. We want honesty. So honesty in advertising, honesty in your business practices and what you're promising people as a product. Honesty. We only capitalists and Christians believe in patents and copyrights, in trademarks, that you get to own your product. The government can't come in and take your product from you. You get to own it. That's capitalism. Capitalism is the right of the individual to own whatever it is they create and sell it. And we have laws about that. And yeah, it does get complicated, but it shouldn't be. You should always look for the person as a politician who wants to lower regulations and keep it minimum and fair. There's always going to be grievances, but my God, please. The public school system has been brainwashing you to be a Marxist and to follow them to be your own God or their God, their tyranny. The liberal left, the Democrats are giving you hatred and fear of the right and capitalists and Republicans, and we are stupidly oblivious. Well, we're starting to wake up now under Donald Trump, but we've been oblivious, and I've been growing up seeing all this because I wasn't really political 20 years ago, like when I was 30-ish. I was a Democrat, atheist, and I started becoming conservative less than 20 years ago. So, and it took me a long time because I was just whatever. But back then, I knew Republicans were oblivious to all these charges by the Democrats. The Democrat and the party switch is a lie. That's the Democrats trying to not take credit for their evil and pass it on to the Republicans and then steal the Republicans' valor and take as their own. That's exactly what evil does. Evil will never apologize for their evil. The Democrat Party has never officially apologized for the litany or the list of horrific evils they have cast upon this country, and they're putting it on to everybody else. And Thomas Jefferson and George Washington did own slaves, but they inherited them when they're 12 or 14. And the Democratic Party back then, whatever it was named before or whatever, right? The Democrat Party back then created laws that they could not get rid of free their slaves. If they, there were so many regulations the Democrats put in back then because they saw that people were changing their hearts and minds under, with the Christian and the abolition movement, that they didn't want them to free them because they would mess up their slavery thing. And so they made all these laws that when you have slaves, and they had inherited them as kids, but when they got the slaves, they couldn't free them. If they did, they would just be sold off again to other slave owners. And so George Washington, Thomas Jefferson were victims of this inheritance thing. And if you go back and actually read their letters, they have so many frustrations that they can't free their slaves, and that and they're angry. They waffle in their anger, in their drunkenness, in the struggles, and then the giving up and just succumbing to the whole culture of mindset of the slavery, but then having renewed hope, that kind of thing. It's in their letters. Yet today, the Democrats are complaining that we're a slave country and that blacks are suffering, and that's a total lie. But yet they're the ones that inflicted that upon America. They're the ones that inflicted slavery. And remember, Thomas Jefferson and George Washington couldn't give up slavery because the South threatened early on. They threatened early on we would stay with the King of England or we would separate from you. And George Washington and Jefferson knew we couldn't. They were, that we can't. It was such a fragile beginning, right? And remember, the British Empire was the biggest empire in the entire world at that point. So for America to divide or split or whatever, then they knew they'd have no chance to become a nation. So they had to put the slavery on the back burner, hoping in future generations they would get something out of it. They knew they couldn't force it on them because the Democrats back then had that trump card, which was they would just split off, then scare the heck out of them, and the British Empire would come right back in. So this whole thing is caused by the Democrat Party, and yet here they are accusing America of being a slave nation. They're accusing America of being unfair to black people when they're the ones who caused it all. It's just disgusting. They caused everything that you can think of in the Dred Scott case, where I guess blacks were not considered equal. All 100% Democrats, North and South, voted to keep blacks not equal. They did the 3/5 clause, where counted them as 3/5. That was horrific. The Democrats caused that. They formed the KKK after the World War II. The Fugitive Slave Act, which they made that movie 12 Years a Slave or whatever. That was the Fugitive Slave Act. The Democrats made that law. They passed it in the federal because they generally had. The Democrats always had a majority in America. It's just disgusting. They've always had a majority in the Congress, and they've always defeated the Whigs, and then the Whigs fell apart. And the because they kept compromising, and the Republicans took over under Abraham Lincoln to then fight a renewed fight. It was a renewed like a phoenix being born out of this ashes of the Whig Party. And the only reason Abraham Lincoln won is because he. The North and the South, the Democrats had such hubris, such arrogance, that they each had a candidate. So Abraham Lincoln got like only a third, a little bit more, maybe 40% of the votes, and he won because the other two split the Democrat Party vote. And Democrats have always had that much power in America, and it's disgusting because they've always had this sort of power of tyranny. So for us to think that we are a holy nation or a Christian nation, which I do believe, foundational, but we've had this freaking evil Democrat Party that we have fallen for forever, that has so much power, and Republicans barely can win these things, when we do win, and we get lucky. I think we're 30-40%, really, when it comes down to it. I don't know, but it's just, and the South has been 100% Democrat forever, and they destroyed the South, made it all racist and destroyed it, and then only since like 2000 has Republicans even had a chance at winning there. So I'm going all over the place, but I'm just trying to cover different areas, and it's just kind of disgusting to me how, how evil. Well, I guess evil is going to be evil. The Democrats and atheists and Marxists and communists are in the public school system, and how they control it. They swarm to government. By the way, the communists, they swarm to the bureaucracies of government, and so they're surrounded there. Really, the only Republicans in the government are the ones elected. The rest, all the workers, all the spies, all the janitors, all the assistants, all the desk clerks, all of them are all Democrat because they want that government job. They want that control, that tyranny, the communism. Democrats swarm to government jobs. Republicans, we don't want Republican jobs or government jobs. We want to go out and do something, create something, And here's another thing. Most Republican, companies or positions will eventually go Democrat. Why? Because we hire, as we grow and create a company, we then stupidly hire Ivy Leagues to fill in the ranks of the board or the executives, and all of them are Democrat. They're all brainwashed Marxists, communists, liberals. I wouldn't even say liberals anymore, but liberal is still part of the left wing. And they then just turn the whole company into a Democrat powerhouse. And so most of the big companies do turn the secular, this, and you can see it today. You can see they're all just sort of brainwashed into believing whatever the masses believe. I guess that's a long enough video. I know I'm ranting, but I'm just trying to get across something to anyone that'll listen, which, whatever. I don't really care. this is my little rants on self-therapy, but so yeah, I'll just end it there. That's just my rambling ranting of Marxism and communism, how it's taking over, and how we Republicans and conservatives need to be aware, fight. This is a civil war. We're definitely in the Civil War Part 2. And for you kids to realize there's more out there than what your public school system, your public education, your public university, or semi-private, because all the privates are really funded by the government now anyway, and it's all run by Marxist bureaucrats who control everything. You got to get out of there and start just see the basics, because they're throwing myth upon you. The Howard Zinn crap and all the others, Chomsky, they're throwing all that out at you, saying America's evil. America's not evil. It's stupid in foreign policies and what we've done, but we're not evil. But we are powerful. I agree with that. But we're not evil. Capitalism and the rights of the individual and the U.S. Constitution are not evil. Men are evil. I'll agree with you there. But the rights of an individual in capitalism are not evil. Those are perfect systems, fair systems that bring wealth and opportunity to anyone who believes in it, fights for it. And very few nations have it today. And that's why everybody wants to come to America, because we still have it. We still have individual rights. We still have a capitalist system. And of all the things you're using in life, how many are, aside from TikTok, how many things are made outside of here or invented outside of here? They're all pretty much invented in here. Or the companies make them based off of what we've done, copy what we've done, and then they market in here anyway. So, I don't even know if I'll post this.